Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Basketball Maestros for a little emergency podcast. Man, oh man, do we got some news today, a week before training camp and media day kicks off for the NBA season. Damian Lillard finally got traded, but not to the Miami Heat. He is now a Milwaukee Buck in a blockbuster three-team trade. Here are the details. Damian Lillard going to the Bucks, Drew Holiday going to the Blazers, along with DeAndre Ayton. No idea who that third player is. The first round pick from the Bucks and two pick swaps in 28 and 30, I want to say. And then the Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. And we'll just dive into this one team at a time, starting off with obviously the Milwaukee Bucks. This is an absolute huge get for them to be able to get Damian Lillard on just out of the blue. It's always a team that you don't expect to get get a star player. And in this case, it's the Bucks, where you had Giannis hinting at potentially leaving, going on a little media tour about how if the Bucks aren't in contention, he'll gladly go somewhere else that is. And the Bucks said, watch this, and they're able to cash in on Damian Lillard. And man, oh man, what a huge gift for them. I think, simply put, they're great as an A plus. To be able to put Damian Lillard alongside Giannis is going to be absolutely disgusting. And you have Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez to space out the floor as well. It's going to be interesting to see who fills out that fifth spot. Maybe it's like a Pat Connaughton to provide a little bit more shooting. But yeah, this is an absolute huge get for the Bucks. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Just to have one of the best players in the league and pair him up with Damian Lillard doesn't get a lot better than that. And then Drew Holiday, obviously you lose that defense, and I mean you sacrifice that with bringing in Lillard any day of the week personally. And I think this is a move that, after a very disappointing postseason exit in the first round, losing to the Heat, this is definitely something that puts you at the front of the East. I think they're my favorites to at least make it out of the East and into the finals. Boston's probably right behind them, but I think this is just a home run for the Bucks. Doesn't get a lot better than this. And yeah, man, the season about to kick off. Very interested to see how this team looks. I'll definitely be tuning in for their first game to see how Dame's debut goes. But yeah, man, the Bucks just came in, snagged Damian Lillard, and solidified themselves as potentially in the finals, if not to make it out of the East this year.
Yeah, I mean this is a crazy trade. I think overall I really love this move for the Bucks. I think you kind of nailed it. You get first rounded last year by the Heat, super disappointing. Everyone kind of just doubts this team now, and going into the offseason, they knew they needed to do something big, and this is the biggest move that I think is available. And you didn't mention Pat Connaughton getting that two guard spot. I think Malik Beasley is also a good option there. And I think that the Drew Holiday loss is definitely going to be a little bit bigger than people realize, but I still think that scoring wise and all that, Dame just brings so much more. The defense in that front court kind of scares me a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's all right. It's not too big of a deal. I think that they'll figure it out. But I love this move. I'm really happy for Giannis. I think that this is going to be a crazy year for them. In terms of one seed, I'm still kind of 50-50 between them and the Celtics. I feel like the Celtics are a little bit more of a complete team,
Fair.
bench wise and all that. But I do like picking the Bucks as well. So I think I'm still kind of 50-50 on who I like as the one seed, but those are the two top dogs in the East. Those are the guys who, if they don't make it to the finals this year, then I don't know who else will. But those two definitely are the for sure teams that will make it out. And another just normal day in the NBA offseason. Another normal day.
Yeah, when this trade, and we were talking before recording, but when this trade first broke out, it was presentation day in my class, and of course, when a group was presenting before me, I felt my Apple Watch going off. I saw the breaking news graphic, and I definitely thought he was probably going to the Heat, if maybe the Raptors, because those were kind of the two teams that were rumored. But just to get to the Bucks was absolutely insane, and you had a little bit of confusion there. You had Shams and Woj kind of conflicting. You had Woj saying he was going to the Bucks. Shams initially reported that he was going to the Raptors. So there's a little bit of confusion there, but he is going to the Bucks after all. And before we dive into the Blazers and Suns, let's reflect on the Miami Heat here. Definitely disappointing. Definitely disappointing to have a point guard of Lillard's caliber basically screaming for you to trade for him. And he paved the way to make it. I want to go to Miami. That's it. Nowhere else. And to somehow still fumble that is a little surprising to me. Um, and let alone traded to the team that you kind of have a rivalry with. You matched up in the playoffs plenty of times the past few seasons, and now he gets traded to the Bucks. It's pretty disappointing. If you're Pat Riley and company, you just got to find a way to get that deal done. Who knows? Maybe they offered Tyler Hero picks. Um, that could very well be the case, and the Blazers just said, "Hey, we like what the Bucks are offering more than what you are." So, and plus they get Aiden on top of that. So I personally, if that was the case, I wouldn't be mad at the Blazers valuing Holiday, who you're probably going to flip down the line, whether it's before the season or at the trade deadline. You could probably get more assets on top of that. Plus, you bring in Aiton, who you move off Nurkic, which is an also positive, a guy who is coming off a big injury and hasn't looked all too great. Um, Aiton, you get a young player center to enter into your youth movement. But um, for the Heat, I think it's two disappointing off seasons in a row where you're coming off pretty good playoff success and you don't necessarily build off of it. And now you lose Gabe Vincent and Max Struess this offseason, two starters for you who were key in that playoff run. And you don't really replace them with anything, which is pretty interesting. It was kind of similar to PJ Tucker. You let him walk and didn't really replace his void. So overall for the Heat, man, obviously they weren't great in the regular season, but they had that miracle run in the postseason. So I guess it's kind of valid, but I find it kind of hard that you're banking on running this team back, even though they had good playoff success. The regular season, they weren't great at all. And to fumble it, it's a little disappointing. The rumors were kind of like Pat Riley was playing it a little too cool, but who knows? Maybe we'll see that the Blazers ultimately just valued this return over the Heat. That could be possible, but I think regardless, if you're a Heat fan, you're pretty disappointing because it felt like it was basically Heat or nothing. And Toronto was mentioned in there, but it felt like Lillard didn't want to be there. So overall, just pretty disappointing way to kick off the NBA season that's around the corner if you're a Heat fan.
Yeah, I think one of my first kind of reactions and when I first saw the trade was like the Heat really did fumble this. Like they really
Yeah.
couldn't get the deal done. And there are a lot of reports that I was seeing saying that Pat Riley wasn't really being as aggressive as he should, that he wasn't really calling back too much to up his offer, stuff like that. I don't know how true it is. I know Dame's agent kind of came out and said that he thanks Pat trying to get it done and all that. But at the beginning of all this, it really was Heat or nothing. Like I think everyone, like me included, was just like, I don't think he goes anywhere else besides the Heat. And I think a lot of people kind of agreed and just kind of all were on the same page. And now you kind of want to run it back with this roster. I mean, what have the Heat really done this offseason to improve? They, haven't really done much. All they have is kind of just lost their pieces. Um, Gabe Vincent goes to the Lakers, and then Max Strus goes to the Cavs. This team didn't get better. And I think, quite frankly, I'm not very high on them coming into the season because, like you did say, last regular season they weren't a good team. I don't think that this team just magically becomes, a top 5 seed possibly. I truly think that they got worse. I think a lot of their players just really had a good couple of weeks, to be honest with you. So I think, as a Heat fan, I'd be really upset. I'd be really, I'd be, just disappointed in this front office and just kind of disappointed in this team. But yeah, I don't see, how this team, gets better or, goes higher than like a, 6, 7, or 8 seed, to be honest with you.
Alrighty, now diving into the other two teams in on this deal, we'll kick it off with the Blazers. Getting Drew Holiday, kind of alluded to it that you can get more assets on top of it. DeAndre Ayton, and then I I simply have no clue who this Kamara guy is.
He's
Don't
him.
know which team he's coming from exactly, but he's in there. Um, you get a 2029 first rounder and then a 28 and 30 pick swap from the Bucks as well. Personally, I'm not too opposed to this return. I think Drew Holiday can definitely net you some good assets coming back, maybe a young player and another pick on top of that. So I think to kick off your youth movement, it's pretty solid. Um, but I think Drew Holiday may start the season in Portland, kind of lead those young guards and Shaden Sharp, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, kind of be their veteran in a sense. But it'll be interesting to see how that starting lineup pans out. But I think regardless, you have Drew Holiday there. He's going to be a movable asset through any time of the season. And then DeAndre Ayton, a lot of people were kind of penciling in his departure from Phoenix for a while now. It's finally happened. He's going to the Blazers, which I know a lot of people weren't a fan of him. Obviously, for number one pick, you expect a lot more, but he's a double big in the Phoenix offense where it just simply had a lot of star talent. And Aiden's a big where you kind of just give him the ball and let him go to work. He's not like a low maintenance big that the Suns had in like a JaVale McGee, Bismack Biyombo. But I think in Portland, it'll be a nice little reset for him, a team with no expectations, be able to kind of rehab that value, play with low stakes, be able to play alongside younger guys. It'll be interesting to see how his value goes up in Portland. But I think overall, I would like Aiden to be a part of a rebuild movement. So I think him, along with Scoot, Anthony, Shaden Sharp, I think that's a solid foundation on top of Jeremy Grant also being there, which we've kind of alluded to. It'll be interesting to see how his contract pans out over there. But overall, for Portland, I'm not too opposed to this. And then 2029 first rounders, you have picks in the future from the Bucks. You never know what the Bucks will look like. The league is changing seemingly every year, so you never know what's going to happen 6 years from now. The Bucks could have no Giannis, no Dame, and those picks are extremely valuable. You're just gonna have to wait and see. But overall, I'm not too opposed to this Blazers package. Um, I think Aiden and Holiday. I'm very interested to see who they flip Holiday to and what they get in return. But I think they'll definitely get a little more draft compensation and another young player or two for Holiday. So um, the deal is definitely going to get better for Portland down the road. But overall, I'd probably grade the Blazers' return probably like a B plus for everything that happened with Dame kind of pushing you into a corner, limiting the market, with saying he only wants to go to Miami. You're still able to find a pretty solid package in return with the Milwaukee Bucks. So can't be too mad at this return for the Blazers.
Yeah, Blazers definitely got a haul for Dame. Um, I'm kind of a fan of getting A in here. I think it's gonna really kind of benefit him. I think, for the longest time, I just think he's needed that change of scenery, and he's finally gonna get it. Um, you know, Getting the first round pick is also pretty good, and then getting the pick swap, all good stuff there. And then I think Drew Holiday, will probably see him get traded in the next couple of days. But depending on what they get from that, I think definitely a good haul for the Blazers. Dame's an aging star. He's been kind of getting hurt these past couple of years. So as sad as the departure is, and I know a lot of Blazer fans kind of maybe didn't want him to go and kind of wanted him just to stay a Blazer for his entire career. It was time. They just weren't competitive at all. The roster just these past couple of years has just not been a championship level team. So, I think whatever, regardless of what they got, I think it would have been, kind of a good haul for them. So, yeah, definitely excited for this Blazers team a little bit more. Kind of regretting the 15th seed now with DeAndre and depending what they get for Drew Holiday. I'm really excited. This is a team that I will kind of like to watch game here or there. They have a lot of young talent, exciting rookies, exciting second and third year players. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch this Blazers team, and finally got done, and I think the haul was pretty good for them.
And then the last team of this deal, the team I have a personal vendetta against, the Phoenix Suns. There's rumors that they're looking for the defensive center, and that was Yusuf Nurkic. And I found it very hard to believe that that was the defensive center they were looking for, but they got him. They moved off DeAndre Ayton. They bring in Yusuf Nurkic, who has a little bit to prove here. Hasn't looked great since his traumatic leg injury, so maybe he gets to rehab some value in a championship environment. But gotta say, the Suns are probably the loser in this trade. I mean, I've seen some points being made about how you're able to move Ayton at probably his lowest value as a number one overall pick, and you bring in Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Yusuf Nurkic, who are all capable of being rotational players. But I mean, defense is going to be hard to come by on that Suns roster, and now you have Yusuf Nurkic holding it down, and you have to rely on Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant to kind of hold their own on the perimeter. And God forbid they get by them. You have Yusuf Nurkic, who, I mean, before his injury, he was probably a pretty respectable defensive center. But I mean, at this point, I can't expect him on a team that doesn't have great perimeter defense to hold it down if somebody burns by like Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. And God forbid if you're in a playoff situation against Nikola Jokic or an Anthony Davis, or somehow you get to the finals against a Giannis, Joel Embiid of the world. It's going to be It's going to be very, very rough for Nurkic to hold that down. And to back it up, you have Bulbul, which isn't great either. So that center rotation is not looking all too great at this point in time. Who knows? Maybe Nurkic can redeem himself, and I will look stupid for this take, but I'm not a fan of the center rotation, especially. I think Grayson Allen is a pretty solid get. I think you bolstered a bench a little bit with Grayson Allen. You have Eric Gordon as well, two snipers who make it a little harder for you to contain Beal, Durant, and Booker. So you have two snipers who able to stay in the corner, able to catch and make some threes. So I think that's pretty solid. Keon Johnson, he's just a young player who probably won't see a lot of the court, especially with a Suns team that's trying to win a championship. So, and Nasir Little, he showed flashes in Portland, but nothing all too consistent. I think for the Suns, you're probably just looking at Nurkic and Allen to help you out this season, which, I mean, it's fine in retrospect if your center depth's a little bit better. But yeah, I think when it comes down to it and playoff scenarios, and you're playing against like an Anthony Davis or a Nikola Jokic, I just find it very hard for Nurkic to be able to hold his own. I think that in itself could lose you a playoff series because if it's not Nurkic, who else is going to stop those dominant big men? Cannot tell you, but yeah, I mean, if you're a Suns fan, sure, Vogel's definitely going to have his job cut out for him to make this team at least somewhat respectable, maybe middle of the pack, best case scenario. Yeah. I'll probably give this a C plus for the Suns. I mainly like getting Grayson Allen. I think that's a pretty solid get, just to add uh, a little more diversity to your bench. So, but yeah, Nurkic is going to be very, very interesting. And the Lakers play the Suns very early in the season, so we're going to get an early test on if Nurkic is going to be able to hold it down against a guy like Anthony Davis. So time will tell, but yeah, I think personally the Suns are probably the loser on this trade if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the Blazers, I mean, you get DeAndre in and then obviously Drew Holiday, which they'll kind of ship away, and then Bucks obviously get Dame. So, I don't really feel like there's a more obvious loser than the Suns. Man, Nurkic is he's gonna have his work cut out for him. I think it's definitely a downgrade in my opinion, but I think with health and all that, I do think Ayton is the better option. But it all comes down to what the team wants, and I think Katie and Book were definitely kind of they're a little fed up with Ayton. I feel like there are a lot of clips from last postseason and stuff like that, to where you could tell that they weren't really the happiest with him. But so it was kind of good for them to get a new center. But Nurkic, I don't think is the best option. He's one of the you know, better centers in the league if you kind of look at the whole scope, but he's definitely not anything close to like being able to guard AD or Jokic. And I did see a couple guys on Twitter saying the Suns are like a deep team now because of this trade. Um, did they get deeper? Yes, but are we gonna call their bench like top 10, top like 5? No, like this bench isn't good still. Keon Johnson, I like him. I mean, he's a young guy, but like you said, he's not going to play. They're trying to win games. They don't have time to
Yeah.
develop guys. This year, Little, I feel like might get some time here or there. Some injuries on the bench. I feel like he's a guy they may turn to for like a little bit of a spark. Grayson Allen's probably the only guy besides Nurkic on this list who actually find time on the court. I like that get for them. I think he's a good bench guy. Obviously he's had his history, but I think these past couple years on the Bucks have definitely kind of solidified his spot in the league. So, I mean, they bolster up the bench a little bit. Is it enough to make me say like they're a top 3 seed now and they're winning the championship? No. Um, I still think that both the teams in the East are better than them. I think the Bucks Celtics are better than them. I still think the Nuggets, wipe this team. I think the Kings can even give them some trouble. So I mean, I don't know. I don't want to call them a championship, level team yet. I think, I'll call them a contender just because of the stars. But I know you are not, on top. You don't like that one too much, but um, yeah, I just think that in the West, like literally the top 6 seeds are all championship contenders. So I mean, I did put them there, so I guess I would have to give them that. But I don't know. I just don't see this team making it past the second round. Maybe we'll just kind of see how it all plays out. But you know, I think that they did 100% lose this trade, and um, you could say that they lost it, but it's not a bad trade for them. It's not like wow, they lost this so heavily. Like they didn't lose it
Yeah.
heavily. You look at the Bucks and Blazers, and you're like, their holes just make more sense for the team. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. Nurkic is definitely a downgrade, though, in my opinion.
Alrighty. So, on a little emergency episode of the podcast, got to cover a pretty big blockbuster trade ahead of the NBA season. We got training camp coming in next week, media day as well. So, basketball is right around the corner, and nothing better than to prepare yourself with a nice little blockbuster trade with Damian Lillard. Next up, James Harden. Who knows when that will come, but time will tell. Thank you for listening to this short little episode of the Basketball Maestros. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you probably on Friday to discuss some Eastern Conference standings predictions. So keep a lookout for that. And no better time to discuss the Eastern Conference than right now. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.